People need to understand the bombs we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki are incredibly, incredibly weak compared to technology that was developed in the 60s. So modern nuclear weapons have around 1,250 times the explosive potential of Little Boy and Fat Man? And those were gravity
Hiroshima,
bombs.
Nagasaki?
Right, those were gravity bombs. That's a bomber flies over the target and drops it, and it whistles, then the kinetic impact, boom. Modern weapons are rockets that drop payloads that air burst and then spread all over, and just, it's nuts.
And the megatons are way, 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 way more.
Yeah.
Right. And the RS-26 has a payload range of 150 kilotons to 300 kilotons, which would, if a missile of that power, just one of its warheads, unless they're multiplying by 4, but assuming that each warhead is going to be in that range, between 150 and 300 would eliminate the entire metro area of Washington, D.C.
I don't want to mince words. This is obviously an escalation. I will say, though, I do think Russia is treading lightly, though, because according to Reuters, at least, a U.S. official said Russia notified Washington before its strike. And while another official said the U.S. has briefed Kyiv and its allies to prepare for the possible use of such a weapon, they did not want the Americans to confuse this for an attack on them.
Exactly.
They did not want them to.
Well, the whole point was they didn't, because the U.S. and other countries, obviously, but because the U.S. does have advanced monitoring systems, a missile like this, when it launches, it took like 5 minutes was the actual travel time, but a missile like that, within 1 minute, I read a book by, I forget the woman's name, but she was talking about what happens in a nuclear
war. She saw her on
just on Joe Rogan a couple months ago or whatever.
A nuclear war. What can happen?
So I read her book, and
terrifying,
and it's really good. But like, they know about the launches within 30 seconds. They have a trajectory within the first few minutes. I think 7 minutes or something like that. So the Russians use the existing communication lines for nuclear launches to connect with the United States and say, hey, we're going to do this. Yeah. Just so you know, it's not a nuke.
And it's not coming to you.
Yes,
it's hitting Ukraine.
Also, it sounds like it was a warning shot from the Russians saying this could have had nukes on board, by the way.
Well, yeah.
It's like a dry run. It's a dry
flex
run,
of capability to just show what they're capable of doing.
Well, that's all Russia has left, this kind of nuclear saber rattling. Conventionally, I think they are failing to achieve what their initial military goals were in Ukraine. And now Putin's best weapon right now is trying to scare people into thinking that he would use nuclear weapons.
And hold off for 2 months until Trump's in office. I just did post a thing. I wasn't able to confirm or deny it, but that Putin's basically saying when Trump's in office, I'm open to discussing the ceasefire. Let's get this over.
Well, I don't think it's so interesting, because I hope Trump will be able to come to some sort of agreement between Putin and Zelensky in Ukraine. But I just don't see the interests aligning up like that. I don't think the Ukrainians want to give up any of their sovereign territory. A lot of pro-Ukrainian people still think they want to liberate Crimea, which I don't think is ever happening. While on the other side, I think it's within Putin's geopolitical interest to continue pushing west. He didn't think he got enough of Ukraine. I think he wanted to go up until at least Kiev early on in the war. I think that was his objective.
If he kept pushing, I would advocate for war against the Russians.
I think he was successful. Wait,
he kept conquering west?
Wait,
That's
if he
crazy,
got to
dude.
Kiev, I mean, I think that was his goal.
If he took east of the Donbass, I understand that he wants access to the Black Sea for portage.
You think
that
he just wants up until the Donbass, though?
Yeah, I think they want to transport steel through the Black Sea into the Mediterranean.
You think they'd be satisfied with the Donbass?
20 to 30% enhance in their GDP as a result of trade.
Ian and Alad, there is a reason that NATO exists, right? Ukraine is not NATO.
Oh, I didn't say go to war with
them. Okay, so, but
Ukraine.
Poland is a NATO country now, right? And it borders Ukraine. You do not need to go to war for Ukraine. You do not need to go to war with Russia, like direct war with the United States and Russia for Ukraine. If they were to attack Poland, then things are different because of NATO.
It's not
Do you
about
think
Ukraine,
we
it's
should go
about
to war with Russia if they were to invade Poland? Because I think for most people, you say
that's
Ukraine,
a contractual
you say Poland,
agreement. You'd have
they think, they don't even know the difference.
The treaty alliance would require it.
But that's on paper. That's on paper.
People understand the difference between NATO and non-NATO countries. At least I think.
Barely.
Isn't that the crux of the issue?
That's the whole point of me saying this is because, like Ian said, go to war over Ukraine. The whole point is Russia doesn't want NATO expansion into Ukraine. Doesn't want the United States to go and be defending Ukraine. That's what Russia said.
I agree.
And so, like, to go to war over Ukraine.
No, it's not about Ukraine.
That's insane.
It would be about the belligerents. If he was actually trying to conquer Europe, which I don't think he is, if he showed his hands like, look, I really do want to conquer, then it's like, no, Hitler 3.0, we're not going there.
Yeah. That's what I said, though.
I think
that's what I said. That's what I said when I said.
Right,
when I said,
okay. It doesn't matter if Putin wants to conquer Europe or not. The wars that we're facing are not just some evil guy twirling his mustache, Vladimir Putin sitting in his chair and being like, no, we will take all of Russia now. No, he's saying we need access to Crimea. We are not giving up a multi-billion-dollar industrial port and where our Black Sea fleet is stationed. And this is where we do a lot of our trade. And we will secure a land bridge, and we will secure the Sea of, the Sea of Azov? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
So, and he says, we're going to have that. Then what happens is the U.S. gets involved and starts supplying weapons. Then we blow up their flagship. Then Russia says they're attacking us when we're trying to secure this resource. How do we stop them? We're going to have to push them beyond the borders of the regions we have to control. Then you get Belarus involved. Then all of a sudden, Lithuania, Latvia, Poland are saying Belarus is mobilizing and they're transporting weapons in Belarus. So Poland starts mobilizing. Now you've got Germany calling up 800,000 troops. It's not because any one side is trying to conquer. It's because there's one point where both sides bump into each other, and then they keep saying, I'm going to win. No, you're not. It's a game of chicken that both people are going to crash into each other. You don't need Putin saying, I want to take over Europe to get full-scale World War III. Putin can say to China, look, if we lose access to Sevastopol and to this base, it's going to decimate our economy, and it's going to give NATO too much control. Give us weapons and troops, and we'll end this quickly. China, now they've detained a Chinese vessel in the Baltic that Denmark is accusing of severing communications cables, which people fear may be a precursor to a larger scale attack. If China is involved and trying to grab some plausible deniability, this could escalate then with the U.S. saying, now we're going to put sanctions on China because you did this. All of it is dominoes falling over. Yep. Nobody wants war. War is a last resort. And this is a fact. There's a lot of people going to say, no, the war machine, they want war. I get that. I get that. The war machine makes money by selling weapons and all these things. What I'm saying is, for governments, what they want is money. For the military-industrial complex, they don't necessarily want war. They want sales. And so for Russia, they're thinking, we want to increase our economy. We want to get more for our people. Putin's saying largely for himself. And how do you do that? Well, we need access here. NATO is saying, Russia's charging us too much, and we need cheaper energy to Europe so that we can get costs down and expand the European economic bloc so that we can compete with China. So they claim. Both sides are fighting over limited resources, and it's going to be dominoes falling over, and it could potentially bubble up into something crazy unless, and this one's easy, Donald Trump intervenes in 2 months and says, we are done. It is better to accept the loss of Luhansk, Donetsk, Mariupol, and Zaporizhia. And I guess, what is that also? Kherson? If it means no World War III, we don't care about Ukraine. Step back. Russia takes this territory. There's sanctions, there's penalties, whatever it might be, but there's no reason to do a tit for tat that expands to the point where they're going to start firing more ICBMs,
Tim,
IRBMs.
Do you believe that Russia would be satisfied with just the Donbass and Crimea? Okay.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.